Because the scriptures say 2/3 are going to be cut off and die, right? So the third part that's going to be left, how is the 2/3 going to come back? The 2/3 are going to come back through the 1/3. The 1/3 that make it out of here, out of this destruction, from being here in Babylon, and the ones that are scattered throughout the rest of the four corners of the earth that the angels pick up and take in the chariots. When we come back down to this earth after the destruction, the ones that die are going to be bred back by the ones that make it. 2/3 are going to be cut off and die, but they're going to come back in the kingdom as the children of the 1/3. They're going to come back and they're going to get it right this time. In this side right here, they're going to have to be sacrificed.
It shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God.
Isaiah 60 and 21 and 22, the points in 22. Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time. So this is talking about when we're set up in the kingdom, a little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. That's talking about the men of Israel. We're going to have so many children. One man is going to have 1,000 children, and then another man is going to have so many children. It's going to be like a strong nation, and it's just going to be his children. And each man, we're going to multiply like that. We're going to have children upon children. But like I said, the Lord is going to restore us. He's going to restore us in the kingdom. We're going to get that ancient world stature and strength. We're going to get all that back.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples for his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the whole lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, is a continuation on the book of First Thessalonians. All right, we're in the second chapter. All right, and Apostle Paul, was pushing the emphasis how, he came and taught the gospel. How him, all right, and his companions, in the ministry. All right, Silas and Timothy, okay, that help him establish, the church in Thessalonica. Okay, so when you get to the book of First Thessalonians, the second chapter, Paul is, acknowledging that look, I came with no guile. It was just a sincere, teaching on the gospel, for the edification of the believers. Okay, and that's the spirit, that the men, all right, the prophets, the teachers whom the Lord, will raise up in these latter days. They will come in their spirit, pastors after his own heart. That will feed his people with knowledge and understanding. Okay, and that's the priority. Okay, of a true prophet. All right, that's coming in the spirit of Yahweh. You see, so let's go here to First Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1. It says, "For yourselves, brethren, know, all right, for yourselves, brethren, know our interest in unto you that it was not in vain. But even after we had suffered before and were shamefully entreated, as you know, at Philippi, we were bold in our power to speak unto you the gospel of the Most High with much, all right, contention. Because Thessalonica was, it was hostile towards the gospel. Was we were getting into it, all right. But Thessalonica was hostile. So to be a believer in Thessalonica, you were gonna be tested, okay, early and often, you know. But it was going back into the first chapter, they set a standard, they set a tone for faith amongst the churches. Okay, so First Thessalonians 2 and 3, for our exhortation was not of deceit, nor of uncleanliness, nor in guile. Okay, and you go into this word guile, all right, you're going to get that in Revelation as well. You see, because we're not here, you know, with guile, our apostles and elders. Okay, as the scriptures speak about, you should know, okay, a tree by its fruit. Okay, and you look at the sincere men that follow the apostles and elders, well, it's just about the sincere edification. It's about this word going out. It's about being a watchman. It's about prophesying. All right, it's about increasing the understanding, teaching Yahweh. Okay,
Strong's G 1388. Dallas. Dallas.
all right, Dallas. Okay, which goes into craft. All right, deceit or guile. Okay, and the true men of Yahweh Bashem Al Shah, they wouldn't come in craftiness and deception and guile. Well, there's a lot of that going on. And we in the time now is like, well, if you can't see it, then it's a great chance it's not meant for you to see it. It's meant for you to be deceived. You know, whether it's the Christian church, okay, or whether it's false Israelite camps. Okay, the Lord is making it plain and obvious. Okay, that these men are full of guile. All right, but the elect, all right, beginning with the first fruits, there will be men, okay, that will have a record of having no guile. Okay, when you go to Revelation chapter 14, verse 4, and it says, "These are they which were not defiled with women." All right, we're speaking of other doctrines, okay, other philosophies, for they are virgins. Okay, which means we stay faithful to one doctrine as we awaken, okay, to this ministry. We awaken to the truth where we stay faithful to that one truth. We didn't engage, okay, with other doctrines. You see, it said, "These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruit unto the Most High, unto the Lamb." All right, so you will have men in this latter time that will wake up, okay, and they will follow the spirit of Yahweh, which is the spirit of prophecy, man, the spirit of edification, okay, the spirit of humility and meekness, spirit of correction, okay, exhortation, admonishment, warning. Okay, all this within the spirit of Yahweh. So we follow the Lamb, through our conduct, okay, through our obedience, okay. And it says, uh, and in their mouth, verse 5, was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne and the Most High. So these men, okay, would be, all right, reported to have what? No guile, which is the same word, dolos, okay, in the Greek, you see, which goes into the same thing, craft, deceit, guile, okay, trick, all right, to bait, you see, subtleties. We're not here to bait you in, just for the sake of members, for the sake of numbers. Okay, we're not here for a money grab. Okay, we're not here to be looked at. Okay, in a certain way. Okay, we're here to exalt and teach Yahushua. Okay, with no guile. Just like you go here, you see, in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 12. Start at 1. All right, so this is when after Samuel, appoints, the Lord puts the spirit on Samuel to appoint, a king for Israel. All right, which was Saul at the time. 1 Samuel 12:1. It says, and Samuel said unto all Israel, behold, I have hearkened unto your voice and all that you have said, and have made a king over you. And now behold, the king walking before you, and I am old and gray headed, and behold, my sons are with you, and I have walked before you from my childhood unto this day. Okay, because Samuel was a priest from his childhood. He was given over to the temple by, his parents, his mother, promised if she had a child, she would give it to the temple. Okay. So when you go into 1 Samuel 12:3 says, behold, here I am, witness against me before the Lord and before his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Whose ass have I taken? Who have I defrauded? Who have I oppressed? Or who have I said, or whose hand have I received any bribe, all right, to blind my eyes therewith, and I will restore it you. Okay? So he's presenting himself, before the congregation. Like who have I defrauded, who have I oppressed, whose ox have I taken? Okay, who has he done wrong, basically? He says, if he have, I restore it. And they said, thou hast not defrauded us, nor oppressed us, neither hast thou taken aught of any man's hand. Okay? So the apostles and elders and the 600 men under them had that same report. Well, will we endure to the end with that report? We haven't patted you down. We haven't grifted you. Okay? We haven't extorted you. Okay? We haven't, you know, Patreon you to death, and you see all this merchandise for you, sell you prayers and sell you name, marriage counseling. We haven't done all these things, man. Okay, so within the remnant, there's a few men, a few teachers who the Lord has established, sincere prophets that will have their report of not doing it. Okay. So going back into it, 1 Thessalonians 2:4, and it says, but as we were allowed of the Most High to be put in trust with the gospel, even so we speak not as pleasing men, but the Most High which tried our hearts. Okay, and see, the Lord put the Spirit on us to just be raw with the truth, man, to be just come with this pure word. Damn, who would offend? Okay, because the fences must come, but true edification has to go out. Okay, and to really edify, you gotta, all right, detach from the emotions of men. Okay, so going back into it, it said, nor neither at any time use we flattering words, as you know, nor a cloak of covetousness for Most High's witness. Okay, you see, we're not here to impress you with our vocabulary. We get into words. The Spirit's on us to be scholarly and go into things. Okay, but we don't put emphasis on making a particular appearance, okay, or creating this character that you fall in love with. No, we here to edify, you see, and bring out the understanding of the matter, okay, prepare the minds of the elect for Yahweh Shai. Okay, it said, nor of men sought we glory, neither of you, nor yet of others, when we might have been burdensome as the apostles of Hamashiach. Okay, so the Apostle Paul, he's just laying it out. Like, look, we didn't come to be a burden. Even though We have the authority of apostles, to ask for things. Okay, but he was like, nah, we're not here to be no burden. Okay, we're here for the growth of the church, the care of the churches. All right. First Thessalonians 2:7 said, but we were gentle among you, even as a nurse cherishes her children. So being affectionately desirous of you, we were willing to have, imparted unto you, not the gospel of the Most High only, but also our own souls, because you were dear unto us. Okay. So Apostle Paul is like, look, we dealt with you like a nurse will cherish her children. Okay. It was all about the care and the building up, okay, of the church, man. Being tedious, okay, sacrificing, themselves. All right, Jehovah Shai, he showed us, he set the standard of sacrifice. It said for, Jehovah Shai, he didn't have a lot going on outside the ministry. His thing was the ministry. You see, and eventually, he had to be the ultimate sacrifice. All right, but he set the standard of sacrifice, man, being about the Father's business. You see, and we follow that example. We got our, situations, okay, but we are constantly, all right, are making those sacrifices for the ministry's sake. It said, for you remember, brethren, our labor and travail, for laboring night and day, because we would not be chargeable unto any of you. We preached unto you the gospel, okay, the gospel of the Most High. Ye are witnesses in the Most High also, how hollowly and justly and unblamely we behaved ourselves among you that believe, as you know how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you as a father doth his children. Okay? So Apostle Paul, he put a lot of emphasis, when it came to the care for the churches, man, and their well-being. Okay, it said that you will walk worthy of the Most High, who have called you into His kingdom and glory. Okay, that we will walk worthy. You see, we've been called into something that has an expectation, a standard has been set. And as we walk, hey, we have to make our walk, okay, our conduct worthy, okay, of the Most High. We've been called into a righteous kingdom. And we are called to rehearse the righteous acts of citizens of a righteous kingdom. Okay, for this cause also thank we the Most High without ceasing. All right, for this cause also thank we the Most High without ceasing, because when you received the word of the Most High, which ye heard of us, you received it not as the word of men, but as in truth the word of the Most High, which effectually worketh also in you that believe. For ye, brethren, became followers of the churches of the Most High, which is in Judea, all right, are in Yahushua HaMashiach. For you also have suffered like things, all right, of your own countrymen, even as they have of the Jews. So he's like, look, the same, persecution that you're suffering, for believing, all right, the circumcision in Judea suffers amongst their own countrymen. So the people of Thessalonica, they was hostile toward the truth, just like those of the circumcision. A lot of them were hostile toward the truth, to those of the circumcision that converted into Yahushua. Okay, verse 15, who both killed the Lord Yahushua and their own prophets and have persecuted us. They please not the Most High and are contrary, all right, to all men. You can't deal with them niggas, man. Apostle Paul, like these niggas, they just contrary, to all truth. Once you see that spirit, okay, today, men are just contrary. Even men with fringes on, they're just contrary. Their whole thing is just to be All right. Matter of fact, let's get this word. Then we're gonna get that as well. Because Yahweh Shah mentioned it. So you always had people, okay, that will be hostile towards the prophets, man. Okay. Because the prophets came, with correction, calling things out. Okay. And that's one thing our people hate, to be corrected in their folly. You see? So look at this word contrary in the Greek.
Strong's G 1727. Enantios. Enantios.
Enantios. All right. So let's go down. It says over against. It says opposite. You see, opposite. Okay. Metaphorically opposed as an adversary, hostile, antagonistic in feeling or act. Okay. So you see that same energy today, with this simple Christian. All right. And it's mainly who Jake, our own countryman, Jake. That's the main adversary and hostile to this ministry, man. Okay. But that's the report that Jake got of being hostile to their own prophets. Okay, their own well-being. Okay. But when you go here to the book of Matthew 23, okay, and matter of fact, I'll just start at 31. All right, this is let me read this in NLT, see if it Matthew 23 and 29, it said, "What sorrow awaits you, teachers of religious law, and you Pharisees, hypocrites, for you build tombs, all right, for the prophets your ancestors killed, and you decorate the monuments of the godly people your ancestors destroyed. Then you say, if we had lived in the days of our ancestors, we would have not joined them in killing the prophets. But in saying that, you testify against yourselves that you are indeed descendants of those who murdered the prophets." And it's telling what fill your measure. We read in the KJV. All right, because you have certain men, that's their measure, that's their lot, that's their portion to come back and be contrary to the true prophets, man. Okay, he says, go ahead and finish what your ancestors started. Snakes, sons of vipers, how will you escape the judgment of hell? Okay, so you have men. Okay, there's their lot to be born and just to be an adversary, man. To be antagonists against the true prophets. You see, they just feeling the measure because they are their forefathers coming back. They did that. Everybody's coming back in their lot. Everybody's recycled back in their lot doing what they was doing. Okay. Verse 34 said, "Therefore I'm sending you prophets," because Yahweh Shai was grooming up prophets, the apostles. All right. It says, "and wise men and teachers, okay, of religious law, but you will kill some by crucifixion, and you will flog others with whips," which is giving them over to the Romans. "You will flog others with whips in your synagogue, chasing them from city to city." A lot of that, Apostle Paul went through a lot of that. As a result, you will be held responsible for the murder of all godly people of all time, from the murder of the righteous Abel to the murder of Zechariah, son of Barakiah, whom you killed in the temple between the sanctuary and the altar. All right, so 230 got a lot of blood on their hand, man. Generations of blood. Okay, it says, "I tell you the truth, the judgment will fall on this very generation." Okay, and this generation is back for their judgment. You can tell how these niggas are acting. These niggas with these goddamn paragraphs on the comment board. Okay, these niggas are back. Okay, verse 37 says, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones the Most High's messengers, how often I want to gather your children together as a hen protect her chicks beneath her wings, but you wouldn't let me. Okay, and now look, your household is abandoned and desolate, man." Okay, so as Yahweh Shai, All right, it's saying that how the prophets are sent out for your well-being. Okay, but you will have Jake that will be contrary to the prophets because they're stuck in the fence. Just like these niggas today, they're stuck in their offense. Okay, niggas are still stuck on something that came out 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. Niggas still offended at that. Okay, still feel some type of way. All right, so they make it their life goal is to disrupt the true prophets, man, to be contrary, to be antagonists. All right, well, we're gonna see, okay, how that play out. Okay, so going back to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and verse 16, it says, forbidding us to speak to the Gentiles that they might be saved. There was a circumcision. They was pissed. Paul teaching to Israelite foreigners, it said to fill up their sins always, for the wrath is come upon them, all right, upon them to the uttermost. But we, brethren, being taken from you for a short time in presence, not in heart, endeavored the more abundantly to see your face with great desire. Wherefore we would have come unto you, even our Paul, once and again, but Satan hindered us. For what is our hope or joy or crown of rejoicing? Are not even ye in the presence of our Lord Yahweh Shah Hamashiach at his coming? For ye are our glory and joy. And the whole purpose of these lessons, man, is to forward salvation, man. You brothers and you sincere sisters is about, your salvation when we teach this word, putting you in a mindset that's geared towards deliverance, making it out of here, man. That's our joy. That's the payoff. Because we know Yahweh Shai gonna give his men everything and then some. Okay? We're not tripping. We're not here to get rich off the church. We're not here, all right, to be worshiped by the church, be praised by the church. Okay. No, man, we here to teach, and Lord willing, we all endure, man, and that's gonna be our joy. That's why the cherry is gonna be, a unspeakable joy. So that's the point. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful like Shalom.